So, my name is Ross Charters from Complete Preservation, and this is...
Paul Walker from CK Walker Damp and Timbers.
Today, we're going to talk about, I shouldn't even smile about this, just a couple of horror stories, and this would resonate with a lot of people. You've also seen all this sort of stuff, but I'll let you introduce your one. First of all, Paul.
Well, mine's a dry rot one.
Oh, we love a dry rot. We love a dry rot.
We initially got a call that there was a property where there'd been a dry rot outbreak, and it was in like the ground floor front room. Floor had been stripped out, and you could just see underneath the there's like a downstairs toilet room, and you could see underneath there some nice little dry rot growing. And initially we thought, it's probably going to be a leak there, but we've got to be a bit more invasive to find that. And yeah, so that was the job to start off with, taking up that floor, having a look, and it got worse and worse.
One of those ones.
Because so the next room on was a huge hallway. This was a nice property.
What's it worth?
1.5 million, but that was that's Nottingham. I know, to go down London, probably not going to get you much 1.5 million, but this was a big property. And interestingly, it used to be a bungalow that had been completely transformed into a huge house, and it was very modern design style. You'd never have known that it was that it had been a bungalow previously. And that, to be fair, that added to the complication, because when you was walking around trying to work out what is a suspended timber floor, what is concrete, it was very, very difficult.
So you're doing the old drop hill test, banging on everything.
But it didn't work, because there was some floors that had been, I'm not exactly too overweight, and I was trying to, jump on the floors a bit, going, that's solid, that's not. And there were several of the floors we would have said were solid.
We've all been there, haven't we? Like if you're a surveyor watching this, you've all gone to those floors and thought, it's solid.
Yeah, that's how it felt. But it was only because we was in the other room, and there happened to be a little hole in the wall. Once we got the floor up, you could see into the next one, and it was like, oh dear, that's timber. And it turned out that there was nice, huge, big tiles on these floors, very expensive tiles, and then there was a layer of like mortar, or they kind of really built it up on the plywood and floorboards to level it all out. So it was so that's what made it feel solid. But there was also areas where there was some bits of solid floor, and it was at that point where we then started to say, look,
something's not right.
Can we see, have you got any floor plans for the previous property? Go on Rightmove, and there it was, the original floor plan. And that's when you start to go, okay, so that room used to have a solid floor, but there's no wall there now. And that's why some areas you walk around and it feel solid.
It makes sense, yeah.
But and we got that, and it helped the situation, because then you could start to say, right, these are all the timber floors. We believe they're still timber, but they're just now got layers of other stuff on top. And we had to slowly start working our way from floor to floor, and it just kept going for dry rot. Now, we also got to the point where we thought, well, what causes dry rot? And we also started to discover that there was old radiator pipes under the floors, and they were full of nails from when whoever put the plywood down, they'd gone straight through them. And you could see the water damage on the plywood as well.
So do you reckon they've done that accidentally to start off with, or was that the old stuff?
I think so. Basically, this property was renovated to sell. So it was converted from this bungalow into this huge new building. Huge job. I think they must have damaged the pipe work as they were doing a renovation, realised probably not straight away what they'd done, because now all the pipe work's redundant. So it's now been moved above ground. So it shows someone's realised what they'd done, but did not dried it down or anything like that. And this brings me on to the next point, that it basically was an unventilated environment. It shouldn't have been.
That's what I was going to say. So the clue was, I take it, there was no clue because there's no subfloor vents then.
Well, there was subfloor air vents, but they weren't real. So this building had been rendered, and it got plastic little vents all around the bottom of the building. We went to take one off to think, let's check them, and basically there was nothing there.
Well, just stuck them on the render or something? Was it
they've just been screwed on for show to look like this subfloor air vents.
Wow.
And then obviously when they built the extensions as well, that was solid on the back, and that didn't have any. Whoever built that never put any ducts through the solid floor to extend the ventilation to give the cross flow.
A typical problem we all come across.
So
we all come across the fake air vents.
Yeah.
But normally you've got like 2 or 3 holes drilled through there.
This had nothing. This was literally the 4 screw holes. That was it. And so basically there was no ventilation. So there'd been a major escape of water by the look of it.
Yeah.
And then there was no vents, and it was all covered up. And then the property was sold. Now the big question is, who is to blame from the person who's now bought this house? Who would they go after in that situation? They had a survey done, but to be fair to the
Do you know it was
surveyor,
level 3 or level 2, do you know?
I'm not sure if it's level 2 or 3, but I suppose they would have seen the vents and just thought, yes, there's subfloor ventilation. The only thing I would have said is they would have seen that there was no ventilation where the new solid floors were. And
Yeah,
surely
so
that
that's the alarm bells.
yeah, that to me is the bit where you could have gone, should have been some there. But I don't blame them for not. They didn't realise the other vents weren't real. So yeah, it's a bit of a.
It's a good point there, because like I will always try and get a camera into the subfloor vents if I can. And I know the little Wohler ones that will go through those vents. But I
Right.
think with anything now, even if it's the plastic ones, if you can give them a little tweak about it and get something in there,
Yeah.
maybe use like a little smoke stick or tush something in to see if they're there.
Yeah. Yeah.
I think sometimes you just can't presume, and we always say that about all of our surveys now. Like once you presume, you've made that mistake, haven't you? Like
Yeah.
I'm not saying that building surveyor is at fault as such, but you would normally say, further investigation is needed. I know a lot of them don't like to say that now, but you've got to recover your butt.
But it's hard because the building looked from the outside looked immaculate. I mean, this is why
Perfect.
the people have bought it because it looks a very nice building, and they would assume that a great job's been done. Yeah, one of the frightening bits was the staircase. It was almost like a floating type staircase with a metal support beam that runs down. You would have hoped that was sat on something solid underneath, and it was basically sat on directly on the timber floor, and that's where the dry rot was underneath.
So it's just about to go.
It was the tiles holding it together. The tiles and this, kind of self-leveling stuff was the bit that was holding the floors together. Because once you got that up,
That's it.
it crumbled.
Yeah.
Everything did. But we're talking. This was a big place.
So
a lot of money.
I don't want to know the number.
Tens of thousands.
Yeah.
I mean, we've not. You can't just think of. It wasn't just my costs going in, cleaning the dry rot up, and they've got to have. If they needed to put concrete floors in, they couldn't put timber back in. Because you couldn't, to be fair, you wouldn't ever get the right ventilation that you need.
I see, because the original solid floors,
unless
you cut them through.
Yeah. So it made sense to put concrete back in. So a builder was involved in doing that. Like I said, the bathroom had to come out. It was the utility room where we had to take stuff out of there.
Drying.
Then some of the kitchen. The drying went in for a few weeks each. We kind of cleaned it up, put drying in for 2 weeks at a time, dried it all out. So yeah, I mean, you're probably talking. I mean, I don't know the exact figures, but I'm assuming £50,000 worth of damage easily.
Yeah.
And this poor guy, who who does he go after for that, if anyone?
The thing is with the dry rot, it's an animal. And like we done one probably about 6 months ago, and it was literally, I think the building was 50s. It was suspended timber floor there, part suspended, part solid. Somebody'd gone there and done a survey previously and said, they're going to repair it. I just basically wanted to spray it all up. Didn't find out what it was. This one had problems with the drains, cavity wall insulation blocked up the subfloor vents and everything. But this stuff I'd got all under the oversight. And I know a lot of people say, don't treat dry rot, don't need treating. You ain't got a clue. We had to break out that oversight, and it's just hard work. And the problem is, you always feel like you're sort of like, dare I say, ripping the customer off. You get this real bad guilt feeling because you give them a sort of budget price, but until you start taking things apart,
You just
don't know, especially when they're on the floor. And I could give a fixed price if somebody wants to pay me to go there for probably a couple of days, opening up everything as far as we could. And we could sit there and say, look, we've done as much opening up as we need now, but then the house is in a mess.
Yeah.
And if they can't get out of there or what have you, then what do you do? But, I know there's a lot of it in Scotland, and there's a lot of people post stuff about the old rot in Scotland.
Yeah.
I got old Nigel Foster, he does a lot of it, doesn't he?
Yes,
On LinkedIn.
stuff, yeah.
But it is an absolute animal. So if you were going to give anyone a tip, have you got a little tip for somebody? About dry rot?
Well, like you say, poke the vents is one.
Yeah.
And again, if you've had new extensions added on, things like that, you've then got to come, and if there's no ventilation,
So an alarm bell on it.
you've got to think, there's going to be dead pockets of air in that floor, and that is perfect conditions for dry rot. I mean, you are going to need some kind of source of moisture to get it going, and that can be just from bad ventilation, but ultimately it's normally a leak, isn't it?
A lot of the, when you got the dry rot, normally you need a lot of water.
Yeah.
It's a lot of water.
Yeah.
And it needs to be quite continuous. It seems quite a long time, but all of the ones I've done in the floors, yeah, you might make that assumption that the cavity wall insulation is blocked it. But, you know, I've gone to ones before and the installation's been there for 20 years. So you start thinking, use your noodle and thinking, what's changed? Because that's been blocked probably for a long time. You'll probably find soakaways or drains or a leak or what have you.
You're right. I mean, that's the thing. What's changed, and that's the thing people don't think of. That's with all dampness issues.
Go back to the
If
basics.
you've got damp suddenly and you've lived there 20 years, what's changed?
Because to be fair, like, whilst our jobs can be very complicated in ways, as long as you go through a bit of a methodical survey and go through a process of elimination, you should come to, you know, the correct conclusion of the cause.
Yes.
How you repair it is another thing. It's like when people say, you don't need to treat dry rot. Well, you're going to go and cut that treated timber and put a non-treated cut end in there. You can.
But this is why it's chatting to the customer is half the survey.
Yeah.
Because you don't find, like I wouldn't have known that was a bungalow. There was no way of knowing that, and it was only then that I kind of started to look, kind of finding the old Rightmove information and floor plans, and then you start, you can ask more deeper questions, but because otherwise you haven't got. I did one the other day with chat to customer, and I was probing about things, and eventually they said, I've got weak water pressure.
Yeah.
I was like, okay, it adds to that kind of your thought process.
I take it the building was damp.
Oh yeah, very damp.
Yeah.
Yeah, so the water main needs checking.
That's a really good point, and I call this reported history. So whenever I'm going into a building, what you've got to remember is that is the layperson. Like, they ain't got a clue in the nicest way. So another word I use is trigger questions. So I have my questions that are all triggered. So it's basically, I'm asking them, all these questions because I'm waiting for them to say something. And, you got to ask them, have you had a leak? Has your drain blocked? Have you got poor water
They won't
pressure?
tell you if they don't ask.
No, they don't ask because they don't know it's relevant, and it is critical to get to the bottom of it. And this is why whenever I go and do, or when I don't do pre-purchase, when I used to do them, I say no reported history.
Yeah.
I go there, I said, there's no one there. I've got no reported history. So you're basically doing the best you can in this situation. They might be on holiday.
Yeah.
They might be abroad.
It's like surveying blind when you've not got that information.
Yeah.
It can change completely what your thought processes are. You can be thinking it's something and just missing that interaction with the person who owns the house, who could give you that one little clue that completely changes what you think. And it's pretty crazy how that can be the situation.
And what I don't like is the lying.
Oh, yeah.
There's a bloke up the road up there. I went and done a survey for him. It's quite a nice house, probably worth, I don't know, a few £100,000. And it was 60s. So it shouldn't be damp, and it was damp in this kitchen area and this, that, and the have you. And I asked him all these questions. He was selling the house and what have you. And he hadn't had a leak. Not had a leak. And I said to him, it was so wet there. But the thing is, you've got to repair it. So I've got the pressure on now because I've got to make sure my client is going to complete on this building with a justified price, because there's nothing worse, as you know, when you go to the building, you're like, wow, I didn't know it was that bad because I couldn't get the floors up or nothing. You have to give another couple of grand, and you do feel bad. And he admitted in the end he'd had a washing machine leak. And I said,
which is not bad. It's not a bad thing to say,
but the cost to repair it because the kitchen had come out.
Well,
all the plaster was all knackered down, all mouldy.
But you've got like with the mould situation. You go to some properties and you think, you just know this property is probably going to suffer from condensation. And you're looking at, you can tell the paintwork, it's not perfect. You can tell someone's cleaned some mould off, basically.
Yeah.
And you're trying to build up a pattern of what's been going off it. You're thinking, is a lot of this damage just from severe condensation and things, which is not the worst possible damage you can have.
But
and you've got to try and let them say, look, did you have a bit of mould there and stuff? It's not the worst thing to admit to, because it's better than saying it's something more serious. So
they don't want to say it, do they?
They don't.
So let us know in the comments if you've ever come across some like horror stories about like dry rot or any sort of like drama surveys, like
or people hiding things.
Yeah. So like the pre-purchase ones. I haven't done
timber panelling on walls.
Yeah, I haven't done a pre-purchase survey for a good number of years now, and I don't ever want to do them again. It's the worst survey ever. I take no satisfaction from a pre-purchase survey whatsoever.
It's a lot more stressful than a standard one.
Yeah.
I've done 2 this week.
I get sent a lot of pre-purchase surveys, and most of them are all from independents. I don't know why. It seems like a load of independents do them, but I don't know why anyone want to do them. They're just hard work. And I'd always say to the client, well, so I think this is what's going on. It's going to roughly cost about this much money, da-da-da-da. Well, you're the expert. We've paid you. And I was like, no, it's a non-invasive survey. I've done the best I can do.
Yeah.
You know, some of them don't want to pay for the drains. Some of them, you can't get into the cavity. You don't know whether the floor is bridging the DPC. Is debris in the cavity? Is it going to void the guarantee? Is there been something else going on, like a leak or something? You don't know. So you're giving them as much information
But
as
if
you
it's
can.
all freshly painted as well,
Yeah.
it makes it hard because you're looking for, kind of symptoms, visible symptoms and stuff. Well, how can you tell? It's painted a week before.
It's the magnolia makeover, innit? That's what we used to call it back in the day. Because it's not magnolia's not the thing, the old Maggie, innit? But you go in the house and you walk in, you can just smell that paint, and you know it's just been painted and bodged. So let us know about your bodge ups you've come across.